very warm welcome everyone. Today in this class, we are continuing Unit 2, Classification of Living Beings for Class 10 under the subject Science and Technology. Now before starting this class, I want to ask you all a few questions. So, can you all list the phyla of the animal kingdom, all the 9 phyla of the animal kingdom? Okay, so there are 9 phyla. 8 of them are invertebrates, and the vertebrate, it lies under the phylum Chordata. So there are in total 9 phylums. So can you guys list all the phylums? Okay, let me give you a hint. So I told you about this mnemonics that you can use so that you can remember all the phylums in order, because remembering the phylum in order is very necessary because it also represents the evolutionary history of the organism, the animal kingdom, how it evolved from less primitive kind of animal to the modern kind of or the more advanced kind of organism. So the first phylum is the Porifera. Then we have C, Coelenterata, Platyhelminthes, Aschelminthes, Annelida, Arthropoda, Mollusca, Echinodermata. These are all the invertebrates. And the last phylum is the Chordata, within which lies the vertebrates. Now, let us start by studying about Echinodermata, because in previous classes we have already studied about these 7 phyla. Now today we'll start studying about the phylum Echinodermata. Now look at all these figures and videos. Can you guys see a similarity between all of these organisms? You can see that these have this spiny protruding structures from its body, and the sea urchin, it has complete this large spines all over its body. Similarly, the sea cucumber also have this horny spinous structure. Sea lily also have this structure, and this brittle star, if you look look closely, you can also see those structure. So due to this feature, that is spiny skin nature of Echinodermata, it is given the name Echinodermata, because Echinodermata comes from 2 words. Echinos, that means spine, and derma means skin. So all the organisms whose body is externally covered by hard spine belongs to the phylum Echinodermata. So let us study about certain characteristics. So the first characteristics we just saw was their body is externally covered by hard calcareous spines. Now calcareous spines are the spiny structure that is made up of calcium carbonate, and it forms the part of the exoskeleton. Now what is an exoskeleton? I taught you about this in previous class as well. So what is an exoskeleton? Yes, it is the skeleton that is present outside the body. Exo means external and skeleton means skeleton. So if the skeletal structure is present outside the body, it is known as exoskeleton. Now, this calcareous spine acts as an exoskeleton of the phylum Echinodermata. Now, another characteristic is it is exclusively marine. So all the organism that is present in this phylum are marine creatures. So marine means, I told you in previous class as well, it means the water has higher content of salt in it. So if they are exclusively marine, they are mostly found in the ocean and seas, where the concentration of salt in the water is higher than the fresh water. Now they are triploblastic in nature. So what is a triploblastic animal? Yes, I've already told you multiple times, it is those organisms that has all 3 germ layers: the ectoderm, the mesoderm and the endoderm. So Echinodermata are also triploblastic organism. They have pentaradial symmetry in adults and bilateral symmetry in larvae. Now, pentaradial, penta means 5, and radial symmetry, we already know about radial symmetry. So, for example, if we want to find the symmetry of this organism, which is an echinoderm, then you can see that we can divide it in one plane into 2 mirror images. We can also divide it by another plane into 2 mirror images, third also, fourth also, 5. So, if it is radially symmetrical but only in 5 planes, then that type of symmetry is known as pentaradial symmetry. So, it is a special type of radial symmetry in which the organism can be divisible into 5 equal parts. But this is in the case of adults. But the larvae of these same organisms have bilateral symmetry. So, it can only be divided into 2 identical images through a single plane. Now, except the chordates, this is the only phylum that has true endoskeleton. So, what is an endoskeleton? Yes, it is a skeleton present inside the body. Endo means inside. So, if the skeleton is present inside the body, it is also called as endoskeleton. So, this is another characteristic of Echinodermata that distinguishes from all the remaining invertebrates. That is, it is the only phylum that has true endoskeleton except the chordates. The echinoderms, they have true coelom. True coelom means what kind of coelom? Yes, if the body cavity, it is lined by the mesodermal layer, then it is true coelom. We have already studied about this. So, the coelom, it is lined by ciliated epithelium. Now, the epithelial cell that covers the coelom has protrudings called cilia. And this ciliated epithelium also helps this coelom, and it divides this coelom into subdivision during the development, and that gives rise to the water vascular system in the echinoderms. Now, these are all, and those water vascular system also consist of tube feet. Now, these protruding structure you can see over here. These structures are the tube feet of the echinoderms. Now, this tube feet, it helps in multiple things. Now, you can see that in this starfish, this arm, these all are the tube feet, and it is helping this organism to locomote. You can see here this tube feet is helping it to move. Now, these tube feet are the small tube-like projection that helps the echinoderms to move, that is to locomote. Not only that, it also helps in feeding. The tube feet are present in the same side of the body in which mouth is present, and the tube feet, it grabs the prey and also helps to feed it through the mouth of the organism as well. Not only that, it also helps to breathe. Now, due to this water vascular system, the water, it enters through the tube feet into the water vascular system, and inside those water, the organism, it absorbs all the oxygen that is present inside the water, and not only that, it also excretes out all the metabolic waste from the body into the same water inside the water vascular system. So, this water vascular system with tube feet helps in locomotion, in feeding, in breathing, as well as removal of excretory waste from the body. So, this is also one of the important feature of the echinoderms, and this is also one of the reason why echinodermata are the most advanced invertebrate. Now, tube feet helps in locomotion. I have already explained to you this. Now, another characteristic is their digestive tract is complete. So, a complete digestive tract means it has both mouth and anus. But in the case of echinoderms, the mouth and the anus, they open in the opposite surface. Now, the surface in which the mouth is present, you can see in this surface the mouth is present. It is present on the ventral side. I've already shown you guys what ventral, what dorsal means, but I'll revise it again. So if this is an organism, then the lower portion, this is the ventral side, and the back side is known as the dorsal side. The side in which the head is present, or the front side, is known as the anterior side, and the place where the tail is present, or the downward side of the organism, the back side, this side is the posterior side. Now, when we look at us as a human being, this is our ventral side and this is our dorsal side. Now, you guys might be confused as to how we can distinguish the anterior and the posterior side. Now, just imagine our ancestors. We used to walk in 4 legs. So, when we used to walk in 4 legs, this would be our dorsal side, this would be our ventral side. So, this region, the head region, is our anterior side, and the tail region, this back side, is our posterior side. Now, the surface that, the ventral surface that has mouth in this organism is also known as the oral surface. Now, if the mouth is present in the ventral surface, then the anus would be present in the opposite surface, that is the dorsal surface in this organism. And this dorsal surface that contains the anal opening is also known as the aboral surface. Now, let us talk about the respiration. Now, respiration, it also occurs through skin gills or peristomal gills. Now, this is the surface of a starfish. You can see that these are all the spines, and gills are present in between this region, and since it is present on the surface of the body, on their skin, it is also known as skin gills. So, the respiration in echinoderms, they either occur from skin gills or peristomal gills. Now, they do not have a distinct head. Now, look at this organism. Can you tell me which part is a head and which part is a tail? No, we cannot. So, this also states that the organism that belong to this phylum do not have a distinct head. They are unisexual. So, what is a unisexual organism? Yes, the organism that has male and female reproductive organ in different individual, then those type of animals are known as unisexual animal. Now, despite the presence of male and female organs in different bodies, they do not show any sexual dimorphism. So, what is a sexual dimorphism? I explained to you this before. Yes, it is the ability to distinguish the organism, if it is either a male or a female, by looking at it. But when we look at the echinoderms, then we cannot distinguish if it is a male or a female by any external features. If you look at all these organisms, we cannot clearly say if it is a male or a female. So, they do not exhibit sexual dimorphism. Now, they reproduce sexually and external fertilization occurs. I've already mentioned this so many times in previous classes. Now, if the sperm fertilizes the egg outside the female body, then it is called as external fertilization, because fertilization is occurring externally. But if the fertilization, that is, if the sperm fertilizes the egg inside the female body, then it is called as internal fertilization, and in the case of echinoderms, the fertilization is external. The nervous system, they have this nervous system with nerve rings. Now, this is also one of the most important characteristics of echinoderm that indicates that it is the most advanced invertebrates. Now, despite the fact that echinoderms do not have a separate head, it still possesses a nervous system that has nerve rings in it, which also acts kind of like their brain. It does not have a entirely different brain structure, but it has nerve rings. Now, nerve rings occurs like this, and it usually surrounds the mouth area, and it has radiation. The nerves also radiates outward from the ring, and this nerve, it innervates all the arms of the organism. Now this is the nerve ring, and it usually encircles the mouth region of the organism. So if this is the starfish and this is its mouth, then it usually encircles this region and it extends the protrusion from this nerve ring. It extends and innervates each arm of the organism. Now they have remarkable regenerative powers. If any echinoderm, they are threatened, what they do is they cut off their body part and they run away. That is also called as autotomy. So they cut off their part. Now the part it again can regenerate into and it replace the part that had been lost. Not only that, it also have other regenerative powers as well. So due to that reason, it acts as a protective feature in these organisms, so that when it feels like it is being attacked by certain other predators, they usually break their body part and they run off. So they have remarkable regenerative power. If they did not have regenerative power, they could not perform autotomy. Now, a few examples of the organism that belongs to this phylum are starfish, sea lilies, sea urchin, brittle star, sea cucumbers, etc. Now, we have already studied about all the 8 phylums that are the invertebrates. Now, let us study about the last phylum, that is the phylum Chordata. Now, the word Chordata comes from the 2 words chorde and ata. Chorde means rod and ata means group. So the term chordata, it refers to the phylum of animals that has this flexible rod that supports their back or the dorsal side. This rod-like structure, it supports the organism. Now this figure you can see, this figure shows the internal organization of the chordates, and this figure indicates 4 most important features of this phylum Chordata, which distinguish the chordates from all the remaining invertebrates. So let us talk about all these 4 distinguishing characteristics one by one. Now the first is presence of notochord. You can see it is here indicated green in color. Now notochord comes from 2 words, noton and chorde. Now chorde means rod and noton means back. So this is the stiff unjointed. Unjointed means it does not have joints. So it is the stiff unjointed rod that is located on the dorsal region, in the mid dorsal region. Now if this is our dorsal side, then exactly this middle part is the mid dorsal line. So the notochord is also present in the mid dorsal part, and it is located above the alimentary canal. This is the alimentary canal because it is the canal which has 2 opening, mouth and anus. So this means it is the alimentary canal. So it is located above the alimentary canal and below the nerve cord. Now this notochord, it usually persists throughout life in the lower chordates, but in the higher chordates it is either surrounded by something or it is replaced partially or fully to form a vertebral column. Now another characteristic is presence of dorsal tubular nerve cord. Now dorsal means it is present on the dorsal side, tubular means it is tube-like, so it is hollow inside, nerve cord. So it is hollow inside, and that hollow region, it is filled by fluid. This nerve cord usually persists throughout life in most of the chordates, and in some of the chordates it is lost during the adult stage as well. Another important characteristic of this phylum is presence of gill slit. You can see over here, this pharyngeal gill slit. Now this gill slit are paired, and this opening and the opening, it leads from the pharynx to the exterior. So it has this connection to the exterior wall. It connects from pharynx to the exterior part. Now it helps in feeding as well as respiration, and it is retained throughout the life in the lower form of chordates, but as an adult or in the higher form it is lost. And the final characteristic is presence of post-anal tail. Now this is the anus. Post means behind the anus. So post-anal tail is the region that is present behind the anal opening. Now this post-anal tail, this is the part that is present behind the cloaca or the anal opening, and it is either reduced or absent in adults of certain chordates. Now the phylum Chordata is divided into 4 subphylums: the Hemichordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata, and Vertebrata. Now the Hemichordata, the name of each phylum, it indicates the characteristic of that phylum. That is the beauty of biology. The answer to everything lies in its name itself. All you have to know is understand the suffix and prefix and try to play with it. So this Hemichordata comes from 2 words, hemi and chorde. So hemi means half and chorde means string or rod. Now Urochordata Euro means tail and chorde means string. Now from the name here we can say that Hemichordata means half chordates, half rod. Now this means the rod-like structure, the chorde is present in the tail region. Now Cephalochordata. Now cephalo comes from the word kephale, which means head, and chorde means string or rod. So the rod-like structure is present in the head region. And in vertebrata, it comes from the word vertebrus, that is joint of spine. So this means the cord-like structure is later it forms into a vertebral column. So the name itself indicates what the organism is. Now hemichordates usually they lack the notochord, and so that is the reason why many of them do not consider this as a true chordates. Despite the fact that it does not have a notochord, it does exhibit 2 distinguishing characteristics of the phylum Chordata. That is, they have presence of pharyngeal gill slit in some species and hollow nerve cord as well. So it only has half the characteristics of the chordate, so that's why their name is half chordata, so that is Hemichordata. Now Urochordata means in Urochordata what happens is the notochord, it is present only in the tail of the larval stage. Not only in the adults, they do not have notochord, it disappears, but in the larval stage, the tail region of the Urochordata have the notochord in them. Now in case of Cephalochordata, the notochord they extends to the tip of the snout. So that's why head, and that's why its name is Cephalochordata, that is head rod. So the rod it extends towards up to the snout, to the head, and it persists there throughout their life. So that's why all the organism that does that belongs to the subphylum Cephalochordata. Now the phylum Now the phylum Chordata is divided into another subphylum as well, that is Vertebrata. And in the case of Vertebrata, the notochord, it is replaced by the vertebral column. Now we will study about this vertebrates in detail. Now looking at these organisms, you really cannot see any similarities in them. But what if I show you guys like this? Now you can find certain similarities between them. What is it? Yes, it is the presence of the vertebral column. You can see over here. The frog, it has this vertebral column. Ostrich, chameleon, this reindeer, as well as the shark, they all have the vertebral column. Now, I've already taught you this in previous class as well. Now the vertebrates, they are divided into 5 classes, and they are the Pisces, Amphibia, Reptilia, Aves, and Mammalia. Now let us study about the characteristic of vertebrates, the basic characteristics. So the vertebrates, in the case of vertebrates, the notochord is replaced by the vertebral column. That's why the name is given as vertebrates. They exhibit bilateral symmetry. Now you can see here in the case of Pisces also, we can divide the organism into 2 mirror images through one plane. So they have bilateral symmetry. In the case of frog also, in the case of mammals, in the case of reptiles, and in the case of aves as well. All the organism, they indicate bilateral symmetry. Now the respiration in the case of vertebrate, they occur through gills or moist skin or lungs. Now in the case of fishes or Pisces, the respiration occurs through gills. In the case of amphibians, the respiration occurs through moist skin. And in the case of the remaining terrestrial vertebrates, the reptilia, aves, and mammalia, they all respire through lungs. Now, some of the organisms that belonged to this phylum are cold-blooded and some of them are warm-blooded. So, what is a cold-blooded animal? Yes, it is those animals that can change its body temperature according to the external temperature. So, whatever the external temperature is, they change their body according to that temperature. So those type of organisms are called as cold-blooded organism. Now there are another type of organism, that is the warm-blooded organism. Now in the case of warm-blooded organism, they cannot regulate their temperature or change their temperature according to the temperature of the surrounding, that is the environment. So environmental temperature cannot impact the internal body temperature of this organism. So they are called as warm-blooded organism. Now we'll study which one are cold-blooded and which one are warm-blooded when we are studying about all of these classes in detail. Now they have well-developed circulatory system and the heart that is present within the circulatory system, its chamber ranges from 2 to 4, about which we'll study in detail when we are studying about each of the classes. Now the organism, they are oviparous or viviparous. Oviparous means they give birth, they lay egg. They do not give birth directly to the young ones, but they lay egg instead. But in the case of viviparous, they give birth to their young ones directly. Now, let us study about the first class that belongs to the vertebrates. We have Pisces. Now, in the case of Pisces, you can see here, you can see their body. In this stingray, you can see their body is dorso-ventrally flattened, whereas in case of this goldfish, you can see that their body is laterally compressed. So from that, we can see that the body of the animals that belong to this class, they are laterally compressed or dorso-ventrally flattened, having a streamlined body. That means it has this flat body and with tapering ends. Now the body, it is divided into head. This is the head, this is the trunk region, and this is the tail region. Now you cannot see the presence of the neck. So Pisces does not have neck. Their body is divided into head, trunk and tail. They also have lateral line in their body. Now, the lateral line is a sensory organ in fishes that allows them to detect any changes in the water pressure. So, lateral line is present in the Pisces, which is all a sensory organism that allows them to detect the changes in water pressure or the water movement or water current. Now, the gills are present on the lateral side of the head. You can see here, this is the lateral side. Now, the gills are present over here. You can see the gills are present laterally on the lateral side. So, pairs of gills are present, and these gills, they help in respiration in these organisms. Now, they are poikilothermic. Now, poikilothermic is the another term for cold-blooded organism. Now, in poikilothermic organism, the body temperature, it changes according to the temperature of the external environment. So, Pisces are cold-blooded organisms. Now, let us study about some more characteristics. They have paired and unpaired fins for locomotion. Now, you can see here, this is a shark, and the shark has paired and unpaired fins. You can see this first dorsal fin, it is unpaired, and this is the second dorsal fin, it is also unpaired. Now, this is the caudal fin or the tail fin, it is also unpaired. Now, when you look at this pectoral fin, you can see that it is paired. So, this is a paired fin, and this is the pelvic fin, and this is also present in another side. Now, this protruding is not a fin, it's the clasper. Clasper is the male reproductive organ of the shark. So, this is a male shark, and it has paired and unpaired fins as well, and those fins, it helps them for locomotion. Now, they have air sacs within their body that regulate the buoyancy. Now, if you cut this fish, you can see this structure. This is the air sac, and it looks like this. Now, as you can see here, this is the air sac, and it has air inside it. Now, this air sac, it helps in buoyancy, that is, it helps the fish to float. Now, if the fish, there are some fishes that does not have air sac in their body. In those cases, they continuously have to swim, because due to the lack of this swim bladder or the air sac, they can, if they do not swim continuously, they will sink down. So, this is one of the important features that many of the Pisces or many of the fishes has within them. Now, their heart is two-chambered. This is how a heart of the fish looks like. Now, externally, you cannot see how many chamber the fish has. So, I'll show you guys diagrammatically so that you can understand what is the structure of this heart. Now, you can see this is the heart that I just showed you guys. Now, this is the ventricle and this is the atrium. So, it is two-chambered. It only contains one atrium and one ventricle. That's why the heart of the fish is two-chambered. Now, they are unisexual, mostly oviparous, some viviparous. Now, unisexual means, I've already mentioned, the male and female reproductive organ are present in the different organism. As you can see over here, this is a male shark. Now, most of the fishes are oviparous, that is, they lay eggs, and there are some exception of the fishes who are viviparous as well, that is, they give birth to their young ones directly, they do not lay any eggs. Mostly, the fertilization is mostly external, that is, the sperm fertilizes the egg outside the female body, and in some cases such as shark, internal fertilization occurs, that is, the sperm fertilizes the egg inside the female body. Now, the example of Pisces is all the fishes, they belong to the class Pisces, and seahorse also belongs to the class Pisces. In this class, we studied about the most advanced invertebrates, that is the Echinodermata. We also studied about the phylum Chordates, the basic classification of phylum Chordates, Hemichordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. And we also studied about the basic characteristics of the Chordates and vertebrates, and we also studied about Pisces. So let us try to check our knowledge by trying to solve a few questions that I have for you guys. So the first question is, which one of the following is present in the phylum Echinodermata? Gill slit, nerve cord, tube feet, tail. So which structure is present in the phylum Echinodermata? Yes, it's the tube feet. Now gill slit, nerve cord and post-anal tail is the characteristic features of the chordates, but Echinodermata is invertebrates. It does not belong to the chordates phylum. Now I have 4 arguments for you guys, and among these 4 arguments you have to see which one is correct and which one is incorrect. Now the first argument is body of Echinodermata is bilaterally symmetrical. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect. Why? Because we studied that Echinodermata has this special kind of radial symmetry, that is pentaradial symmetry. So the body can be divided into two equal parts by 5 radial lines. So they have by pentaradial symmetry, but they do not have bilateral symmetry. So the first argument is incorrect. Now the second argument. Body of Pisces is divided into head, trunk and tail, but the neck is absent. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct. Now the vertebrates, their body is usually divided into head, neck, trunk and tail, and in some cases neck is absent, and in some cases tails are absent. But in the case of Pisces, their body is divided into head, trunk and tail, but the neck is absent. So the second argument is correct. Now the third argument, Pisces has 3-chambered heart. Is this correct? No, it's incorrect, because Pisces has 2-chambered heart, one atrium and one ventricle. So the third argument is incorrect. Now the fourth argument, body of Pisces is streamlined, that is flattened at the side and tapered at the ends. Is this correct? Yes, it's correct. Now the body of the Pisces, they are either dorsoventrally flattened or laterally compressed. Now due to which they have the streamlined body, and they also have this tapered ends. Now due to this streamlined body, it helps them to swim across the water easily as well. So this is also one of the important features of the class Pisces. So this fourth argument is correct. Now in this class we studied about the final most advanced phylum of the invertebrates, that is the echinoderms. We also studied about the distinguishing features of chordate that is used to distinguish it from the invertebrates. And we also studied about the 4 subphylum of the phylum Chordata, Hemichordata, Urochordata, Cephalochordata and Vertebrata. And we also studied about the 5 classes of the Vertebrata, but in detail we only studied about the first class, Pisces, and we'll study about remaining classes in the next classes to come. So I'll see you all students in the next class.